So thank you so much for joining me here today on Culture Sway. On today's podcast, I am joined by Julia Stubbe, who channels multiple galactic and multidimensional beings, sharing energetic transmissions that clear old programming and activate creative DNA coding, elevating your vibration and frequency to support you on your journey of unfoldment. Plus, as well, you do a lot with the Akashic records as well, so I see. And also an extraordinary spirit. Her journey began more than 25 years ago. So would you like to, I suppose, give us and the audience sort of like I suppose like a backstory to yourself about who you are and how you came to, get into such amazing and metaphysical, I suppose, get into that as a career and how you got into it in the first place?
Well, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. My mom was a psychotic alcoholic, and there was a lot of violence in the environment. So needless to say, I became like a chameleon, becoming whoever I needed to be to survive. So I really didn't find out who I was, and I had a lot of anger and self-destructive issues from being in that environment, because you only know what you know. And I started talk therapy. I had some talk therapy in my 20s, and then in my 30s, I actually was going to a massage therapist for my neck because I had been in a car accident in March of 1980. And she sent me to another massage therapist because she was getting both her hips replaced, so she couldn't do any, yummy massage stuff. So this massage therapist, she actually was a shaman. She had shamanic training, and she touched my heart chakra, and the pain literally shot through the back of my back and down my spine to my root. And I knew just something's clicked right in there. And I knew that was where I needed to be. That was the beginning of my journey to wholeness, is what I like to call it.
Wow. That's fairly interesting. So basically you just went and you were looking to kind of get an issue with your neck looked at, and she a Reiki practitioner that she just like took,
Well, she had Reiki as well, but she was a shamanic trained, she was a massage therapist, and she was actually working at doing a massage on me. But because she was also an intuitive shamanic healer, she was guided to like put her hand on my heart. And when she did that, that's when I felt this huge amount of pain shoot through my back and down through my spine and into my root chakra. And I was like, I just knew she was touching something of me that was so deep and so painful, and that she could assist me in releasing that and letting that go. And that's where it all began. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I got that 100%. I'm just kind of relaying it because I was thinking like, yeah, if you went to get a massage, she must have been either Reiki or shamanic. Yes, of course. So tell me then, after you got that experience or had that experience, what were the next steps then? I mean, where did you go? Did she give you advice or point you in the right direction or become a mentor even?
Well, I actually went to her for several months and would get actually those energy healing sessions, those shamanic healing sessions, where we actually went into the inner child and we really worked on releasing those blocks, because the mind blocks all this information out, but your body holds all that information in, and it causes blocks and dis-ease. So that I worked through that. And then based on that, when you do energy work, if you do like a sea salt scrub or a bath salt, that helps to clear any residual energy. So I started doing that, and I couldn't find any salt scrubs that I really liked. So I started making my own. And then that's how my original business started, Wellness Treasures, because I was making salt scrubs and bath salts. And I actually was working with anti-aging creams with essential oils and different lotions. So it's like, I did that for a while. And then I ended up taking a Reiki class myself, and it was just so tough. So I started doing the Reiki on myself, and then Spirit had guided me to go up to the Omega Institute up in New York. They had these different classes and stuff, and it's like, okay, which one should I take? And I saw one with angels, and it was IET, which is Integrated Energy Therapy with Stephen Thayer, and I took the basic, intermediate, and advanced class for being able to be a practitioner of integrated energy therapy. And that's where I started facilitating for others. I was so excited about it. And so it took a while to get to that point, but that would be the pieces of it. And
Sure.
then from there, I took all kinds of different things. I've taken matrix energetics. I've taken all kinds of other modalities. I have a whole bunch of certificates, but you take all that information and you connect, clear all your stuff out. So it's like I've worked on myself. So anytime something shows up, a trigger or a mirror that reflects something that needs to heal within me, I look at that now and I deal with it and I transmute it or whatever needs to do. Whereas before it's like, I'll just stick that in the baggage compartment and we'll look at that maybe later. But now I just deal with it when it shows up. So I keep my channel really clear so that when I'm working with other people, my connection to source is really clear. So the information that comes through isn't convoluted by my stuff. And so that way it allows me to give clearer information to other people.
Of course. And then how did that transition into you being able to channel multi-galactic and multi-dimensional beings? How did that all transpire then?
Well, I'm clairaudient, which means I hear beings and I have this knowing. So I've had beings show up and everything. And then, but what really triggered the being able to channel light language was I was given these gifts as these cards. They're light language cards by Dorian Light. And there's like 66 cards. And Spirit said to me, we want you to read these out loud 3 times and look at the picture. I'm like, all of them at one time? I was like, really? I got to do this all? And I did. And then the next day, I was walking, the same person who gave me the cards, we went to this park nearby, and all of a sudden, this light language started coming out of me and I couldn't stop it. It was 20 minutes straight. I couldn't even catch my breath. And like, I hear the trees talking and they were calling me names because they didn't know what to do with me. So it was quite interesting. And then I've always had a connection with the Galactics, and I've had other beings channel through me too, as far as that goes. I have some really interesting stories as far as that goes. But I remember as a child, like 5 years old, going out and looking up at the sky and say, why did you leave me here? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? I don't understand. Come back for me now. So the connection's always been there, but the channeling really started after I really activated that light language ability.
Amazing. And I suppose, do feel free to divulge into one of your, as you're saying, interesting stories about what they're actually, what they're saying to you, and if they have any sort of messages for other people, or if they have any messages through you for the planet, or what kind of messages have you received?
Well, I basically, you don't with light language and star language, it's not necessarily always knowing about exactly what they're saying, because it's like a living message. So depending on where you are on your journey, what your vibration is, what your frequency is, that message will resonate with your DNA differently. So it'll give you different codes, whatever you're acclimating to. So recently, I just put a little video out on Facebook for the Keatone Temple, for the codes and keys there, because that was about helping with the ascension codes as far as what was happening right now. And that's all they told me. So if there was further details as far as that goes, I don't necessarily know, because I don't channel in English or a language known to the humans as far as that goes. So it's not that 3D language, it's a vibrational language. And I have been guided at times to channel codes to release fear and to activate your root chakra or your heart chakra. So it just depends. So they'll tell me, it's like, they'll go, Julia, okay, we want you to do this, and this is what it's about. And then I just surrender to it and I allow it.
Yeah, of course. Amazing. And then I suppose, if somebody is looking to, activate their chakras and open them up, what is the best way for people to, approach that?
On a personal level, there's a lot of information out there as far as videos that you can watch that can take you through that process. What I usually do when I'm working with the chakras for an individual is I bring in the energies of the Divine Mother and the Divine Father. And we go and I join them and we put our hands on each chakra and we gently massage it and bring it back to its original brilliance, its original beauty, its original purpose, by regenerating any lost petals and restoring any damaged petals of that lotus. And we do that through all the chakras that way. That's how I work with it. But there's also just seeing stuff if there's blockages in the chakras as far as that goes. But there's a lot of different tools or, available for people to really just search. So what I would say, if you're looking for something and you just search, it's like, well, that feels right. It's like, that resonates with me. I'm going to try that, because it's different for everybody. Everybody's energy resonates with different other energies.
Sure, very true. And just like on that as well, I suppose, I mean, what would you think would be better? Again, I know you're saying it's sort of up to each unique individual, but I mean, would you kind of suggest someone kind of go to maybe a shaman or a Reiki practitioner first, when they're kind of looking into maybe opening their chakras?
They could do that. It depends, because it just depends on the practitioner, whoever you're working with, because you really want to use discernment. Anyone who says they can heal you or they can fix you, those, I would not recommend that, because I don't heal anybody. We are just channels for the information. And if somebody says they can heal you, they're taking your power away from you, because you're surrendering your power to them, because you are a powerful being and you have the power yourself to really heal yourself. So when I'm doing it, I just facilitate and pardon me, and give that information to them and help them move the energy. So it was like, you have to resonate with somebody's energy as far as that goes. So yes, they could go to a shaman, or they could go to a Reiki, or they could be guided just to listen to a certain video from somebody. So it's really about trusting that inner guidance, that inner power that you have within yourself.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, I suppose if anybody is listening to this and they're kind of considering, energy work or, chakras for healing, that's kind of obviously something to, of course, like keep to keep an eye on or an ear out for, so that they can say they can hear you. But even just like for people that want to kind of get more deeper into their spirituality, or feel like that, like they have a block with some sort of emotion and they want to open up, I suppose, yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably best to do your own research and then probably find out what Reiki practitioners are in your area, or even shamans as well, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and energy work can be done remotely. It's so easy to do it remotely. It's like energy, it flows, it's a magic. And it has an intelligence. So it knows when you connect with somebody remotely. So if you do it via over the phone, or there's sometimes people, I'll just hold space and I'll work on people even when I'm not even talking to them. And they feel the energy, they feel what's happening to them. So it's not necessarily has to be somebody local. It can just be somebody that you really resonate with.
This is true, actually, because I had a couple of healings done over the phone as well, actually. So that is true. So tell us about the Akashic records. You obviously then evolved, from energy work then to being able to connect with the Akashic library. Again, then, well, with channeling as well, I suppose. So it does kind of make sense to go from energy work to channeling, and then kind of trying to find more information via the Akashics. So how did you then kind of, again, transition into exploring that, and any sort of interesting stories from the Akashics you can tell us?
Okay, I do the Akashic records probably completely different than anybody else does. I work with what is the divine heart. I work with a group of other people that we channel information, we get informational. And the divine heart is connecting your planetary heart chakra, chakra number 4, chakra number 9, which is the galactic heart chakra, and chakra number 10 is the cosmic heart chakra. And when we activate this, they all come together, and within that are all these chambers. And on the level 1 chambers, there's a chamber 1, which is the chamber of all possibilities, which is the chamber of your Akash. So I work not necessarily with like a specific, like you were this, or what your occupation was, or I work with the energies of the Akashic record. So I will have you go into this chamber, and there's a beautiful holographic wall, or sometimes we work with library cards, depending on how you can see, know, or feel the energy. And I will like ask you of all the lifetimes where maybe you were crucified or put to death for utilizing your gifts, and a number will show up, and then we'll go in and clear the energies of that type of energy and flood that lifetimes with divine forgiveness and divine compassion for self and others, cutting all the cords, releasing the contracts. And then say you started with like 55, and we do that process, and maybe that comes down to 4. And then we do another process with that I'm guided, however I'm guided. And maybe we come down to 1, and in that 1, it's like there's something that's there. So then I might get into specifics as far as, okay, this is where you were a person who maybe was a seer for a royal family, but they kept you locked up. And so you were punished for your gifts as far as that goes. And we had to go into that lifetime specifically in order to really clear that completely. So when you get down to 0, you know that is all cleared. So that is how I work with the Akash, and I do it with relationships too. So I have a process that I work with my clients. I just did a session on Saturday or Friday or Saturday. It doesn't matter. They all blend together. But it was with a husband and wife where they wanted to really get closer together. So we bring them both in, and then they're both working in the Akash at the same time so that they can really connect with their lives that they share together, to be able to clear any betrayal or deceit. So if there's any anger or anything like that, and then also access the lifetimes where they had such joy and magic in their lifetime, so that we can activate their DNA in this lifetime on how to do that.
Well, yeah, I haven't actually heard of anybody doing it like the way that you're doing it. And I do really like that, actually. And I haven't heard of, couples going in to kind of clear, ancestral history or just, karmic history or anything like that either. That's really good.
Yeah, that's how Spirit had guided me, because I've been working in these chambers for probably 4 or 5 years, and working with this divine heart for like 7 years as far as that goes. And not only with couples, I do it like when I'm doing a business adventure, like my co-host of the radio show that when we were guided to work together, Spirit said, you need to go in and clear this energy. And so before you work together, so it's like we did the same thing. We went into the Akash and we checked out the lifetimes that we shared together and really cleared any betrayal or deceit or anger, any issues between us that could really impact in a negative way our relationship as a business partner, or a co-host of the radio show. So I work and facilitate it for that kind of relationship or family dynamics with your kids. So it can go, any interpersonal relationship that you have is something that can be looked at.
Sounds amazing. I think that's really important actually as well, because I'm sure people, try many different things, but I think this would kind of really, touch on the root cause of any sort of issues that would be underlying between any sort of person and another individual. And then just going back to the DNA coding. So if somebody is looking to, I suppose, tap into that or access some codes, where would they be able to find codes or learn more about that?
Well, your DNA, you have all this DNA within you. So you have everything you need within you. It's just about awakening it or activating it. Yeah. So there's genetic templates available within you that can be activated. So I don't know exactly how to answer that, because it's just something that if Spirit guides and says, okay, this person's ready for this, let's activate that. And so with their permission, we activate it. And with the awakening of, when we're awakening the codes, I say about the Akash, and we find those relationships that were beautiful together, that worked well together. Mm-hmm. It's like they have the connection. So the DNA can connect to that lifetime and say, okay, I'm waking this up. Okay, I'm connected. And it just happens. So it's about your belief system, and you're creating your own reality with it. So even if you can't see, know, or feel it happening, but if you use your imagination, the imaginations are the seeds to reality, and that belief system really works within your body.
Absolutely, I love it. And just one more last question on that as well. I've come across kind of books where they have, as they claim to have, like, DNA activation, where it's literally just maybe a pattern and some colors. And I'm not really too sure how that would kind of work necessarily. I suppose you might open it up and see which one sort of resonates with you, maybe meditate on that then yourself. I mean, could it be as simple as that, or do you think that there's...
Yes, I've done some things where Sophia's Code, I read through that and I got activations through that by reading that aloud. There was, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I've done it with Octorians and the Pleiadians, where I read the book and you just read the stuff out loud and I felt the activations. So it's about that intention as far as where you're going. You just want to always check in with your inner self and say, okay, is this really beneficial to me? How does this feel? Does it feel heavy or light? If it feels heavy, then maybe you want to walk away from it. But if it's light, you want to say, yeah, I'll take this, and just trust your inner self as far as that goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love it. I love the work that you're doing. And so I suppose, where can people find you that want to get in touch with you or know more?
Well, my website is juliastubbe.com, JuliaStubbe.com. I have a YouTube channel, and I also have a radio show, A Call to Heal, which is on the BBM Global Network. And my co-host and I, we facilitate energy healing for 3 of our callers. So we read their energy and we give them a reading and facilitate the healing. And that's pretty cool too. And that's on the Bold Brave Media network. And you can find that on the internet. And I think that's pretty much where you could start.
Okay, great. So they can get in touch with you and you can facilitate, maybe a DNA activation, Akashic record readings, and healings and more.
Yeah, I'd like to actually do it as a whole, like a transformational session, and then we just see what shows up as far as that goes. Because what I'll do is I'll say, how can I assist you, even though I'm not really doing anything, as what could be done. And they'll say, well, I'm having issues with this, this, and this. And I just let spirit guide us. So it could be different for each and every person. Yeah. But magic happens.
I love it. Okay. Julia Stubbe, thank you so much for joining me in Culture Sway today. I really, really appreciate your time and all the information, everything else. It sounds really interesting and I was going to say entertaining, not entertaining, but like really interesting and intriguing rather. And I'd love to I'm going to be checking out a lot more of your work as well. I might even be in touch with you again in the future, actually, for maybe a reading come January. That might be great.
That would be awesome, Antonio. I really appreciate you having me on your show and being able to share my story with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Well, look, what I'm going to do for anybody that's interested, I will leave all of the links in the show notes that you'll be able to see on iOS and Spotify as well. And I think across all the other platforms too. And yeah, once again, listen, Julia, thank you so much again. Have a lovely rest of your week and lovely Christmas as well. Hopefully I'll talk to you in the new year.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Thanks so much then. Take care. Bye.
Bye.